Using the Dataverse to host your information, as opposed to SharePoint for example, opens up a whole host of new opportunities for scale and security. But here's the minimum standard that you must apply to your tables if you're going to use them in apps that expose data from the Dataverse. For the simplest setup, I'll show you the simplest Power App. This is a Canvas app which is just linked to a Dataverse table. It's linked to the courses table and just exposes the 3 records that are actually there. Each record has data in it, as you'll see there. This particular test user has been set up so they can't physically write changes to the data. So for record 1, if I change that supplier to Fraser, you'll notice they get an error. Now clearly having the option to change it is not ideal, but we'll deal with that in a separate video. But you can see there that particular user can't change the data. Whereas my course admin, this particular user, has been set up with that capability. He can change the supplier, and in that case, that change is accepted and put into the data. Flipping back to the other user and refreshing the app, we can see that that data has indeed been updated. Now again, another video how we'd update that dynamically without them having to press refresh, but that's a whole different conversation. So let's have a look at the minimum setup you need to make this possible. The first thing of course you need is tables. I've used custom tables in the Dataverse here that I've set up for my learning management system. This is the course table you saw in that screen. You see here it's really simple. It's got some information in it that I've been able to update. There's that supplier we updated. There is nothing fancy about this table. It's just been set up with some columns and some data. Where the real work happens is on the environment itself that we work in. In this case, I've got a production zone. If we pop to the Power Platform Admin Center, as you can see here, this is where the magic happens. And we look at our environments. Under every environment, we have users, people who can access things in that environment, Power Platform things specifically. We also have something called security roles. If we have a look at security roles in this environment, I've set up 2. You can see them here, the course administrator and the course user. To set up your security roles, it's as simple as going into that screen, add the new role, give it a name, choose the business unit it associates to. Generally, we'll leave the privilege inheritance like that and then we'll create it. Once it's created, it's ready to link to tables if that's what you want to do with that security role. One thing to bear in mind is that security roles and permissions in general works in a hierarchical fashion. So what you really want to be thinking about is whether you already have a security role that does what you need. If not, create one that gives the least permissions possible for the task that you want to perform. And very carefully assign that, potentially not through individuals, but if you can, a good practice is to do it through groups or teams. That way, you're adding people to groups and teams, and it's the team which controls the permissions. Much easier to manage going forwards. What we do is we link the course user, for example, to the particular table that we've set up. So let me just show you that. And we give it permissions. So here you'll see all the different Dataverse tables that exist in this environment. If I search for courses or course, we'll see course here. And you can see here that this particular security role that we've created has a read permission against the course table. And that's the key to setting up the minimum standard. Microsoft have made it a lot easier now. We've got a whole bunch of pre-configured settings that we can choose from here. You can see here I've given reference access to the course table for that security role. All we now need to do is go to the users on that environment and add that security role to them. We can do that if we click on the users, we find a particular person that we want to use as a test person. In this case, it's the 365 test shared, and we manage their security roles. If people are accessing the Dataverse, there's a minimum standard that they're going to need to be able to even see information, and that's the basic user. It used to be called the Common Data Service user, but now it's called the basic user. That just gives them access to tables in general at the minimum level required. What I've then done is given the course user access to this person. There are other roles that you can assign to allow people to access information at the data layer as well. You can use the environment maker, a person who makes in that environment. This particular one will show them the tables, but it'll be read only. But in this case, the minimum standard I need is my security role and a basic user. With that in place, when this person logs into my app that I shared with them and accesses the course table, they will receive the permissions as set on that table by that security role. And that's all there is to it. My other user here, as you can see, has additional security roles, but the important one for me here is course administrator. And the reason for that is I've allowed course administrator against that table that we just saw to have read-write permissions. A quick check against the table confirms this, and that's the full access that they've been granted. So anyone who has that security role can have full access to that table. As you might expect, there's a lot more to learn about the Dataverse and how it can handle security for you, especially at scale, but we'll deal with that in other videos, so do remember to like and subscribe, and I'll make sure I do more on this topic.